From the other side of the Footlights, here is WHRO FM critic M.D. Ridge.
The September 20th season opener for Virginia Symphony got off to a sizzling start with Richard Strauss's tone poem Don Juan, written when the composer was only 24. The exciting work began with brilliant full orchestra evolving in lively, romantic, pensive, and foreboding turns. Think Errol Flynn at his peak. Concertmaster Von Armstrong's achingly sweet violin phrases and Sherry Lake Aguirre's lovely oboe were standouts, as was the passion expressed by the four French horns in unison. Usually a solo performer will do his or her stint in one half of the program. However, the amazing pianist Emanuel appeared both before and after the intermission, playing two quite dissimilar works by quite dissimilar composers, Mozart and again Richard Strauss. The orchestra slimmed down for Mozart's intimate and charming piano concerto No. 14 in E-flat major, for which the composer specified small orchestra. In the first movement, acts used short figures starting in the left hand and echoed in the right, then reversed, to display extraordinary clarity and articulation, making the piano a quiet voice singing in dialogue with the orchestra. In the second andantino movement, conductor Joanne Folletta kept the strings beautifully restrained so that they were very intense and supportive against the quiet piano. Axe's thoughtful phrasing brought beauty of articulation to even tiny little runs, soft as breath and as life-giving. The final movement, Allegro non troppo, was seamless, forceful or delicate by turns, but always transparent as crystal. Polish-born Axe and his family moved to Canada when he was a young boy. He attended Juilliard and later Columbia University, where he majored in French. He won the first Arthur Rubinstein International Piano Competition in 1974, and 40 years later is still dazzling audiences. After the interval, Axe returned to play Richard Strauss's fiendishly difficult Burlesque for piano and orchestra, as different from the Mozart concerto as Beethoven is from a lullaby. The German word burlesque differs from its English counterpoint. The German meaning implies mockery and overlaps theatrically with extravaganza. The work's original title was Scherzo, which means joke, but both titles are misleading. It's no joke. Strauss wrote it for Hans von Bülow, who thought it a complicated piece of nonsense and refused to learn it. A few years later, a more evolved version was premiered by Eugen d'Albert and eventually published. The work began with a thunder of timpani answered by the orchestra. Then Axe reeled out shimmering ribbons of piano notes soft against the orchestra. A lovely romantic section preceded a dialogue of authoritative piano and timpani, followed by a pensive 3/4 passage, and then fast, brilliant piano, more timpani, and a surprisingly quiet finish. Both Axe and conductor Folletta seemed in perfect consonance throughout. The audience erupted in enthusiastic bravos and appreciative whistling. Ravel's La Valse went through a number of changes before becoming an orchestral showpiece. Its French composer originally intended it as a symphonic poem, a tribute to the Viennese waltz whose rhythms and joie de vivre he found wonderful. He reworked it as a ballet for Sergei Diaghilev, but that didn't pan out, and it became a popular concert work. In 1926, the ballet was premiered by the Royal Flemish Ballet, and its complex music has since been choreographed by Nijinsky Balanchine and Frederick Ashton. It has been seen as a passionate anti-war statement after the carnage of World War I, but Ravel commented, "I did not envision a struggle between life and death, and had imagined the ballet as being set in a mid-19th century imperial ballroom." La Valse began quietly with the murmur of double basses, joined by the lush harps of Barbara Chapman and Vince Zentner. Other instruments entered in fragments, different melodies, some sweet, some crisp with percussion. Strange modulations and changes of instrumentation became macabre as the waltz spun and whirled. Folletta masterfully brought the orchestra right to the brink of chaos. One could hear echoes of wow in the audience. From the other side of the Footlights, I'm M.D. Ridge.